My name is Rychtarik. I am a Baxter County native, raised in Norfolk my whole life. I now live on the homestead that my grandparents bought back in 1950. So, Mr. and Miss Reeves, y'all may know my grandparents, Don and B. Hudgens. They bought it, it's down past the school. They bought like 200 acres that went down to White River and gradually sold it. Now all I own is 40 acres, so.
And a mule.
It's a donkey,
Okay.
There's two. So the reason I wanted to go back to college, I'm gonna call him Bodie because that's how I know him as, so no disrespect, that's just what we've called him for years. So I went to ASU Mountain Home right out of high school, and I was married right out of high school. My husband and I, we were high school sweethearts. And after a year and a half of college, I said, this is not for me. I'm not a college student. This is just not for me. Joined the workforce, worked several different places. Some of y'all I know from Sneed Eye Clinic. Whenever I worked there with Dr. Marks for several years, I worked for him. I was his technician for 7 years. Left Sneed Eye Clinic, went to Norfolk Elementary, and I was there for 12 years, and now I'm in Extension. So when we bought my family's homestead in 2016, my husband has always wanted to be a farmer. Believe it or not, he is actually from a suburb of Chicago. You would not know that because I and my family have converted him well. He is very redneck. So he works for the water department here in Mountain Home, and one of the guys was joshing with him the other day, and he said, you know, them Yankees, and one of the other boys said, you might want to tone it down a little. He said, why would I do that? And they said, because Jason is a Yankee, and they're like, no, he's not. He said, yes, I am. So, but yeah, he wanted to own a farm, and I had helped my grandparents had a commercial chicken house, and they always had cows and horses and pigs, because at that time, back in the 80s, you could still have pigs and chickens on the same farm. And so growing up, I would help my granny walk the chickens in the chicken house and do all the things. But then after we bought our homestead, I told my husband, I said, I didn't do the behind the scenes stuff, and if we're gonna have a farm, I said, I don't want to run it into the ground because of ignorance. And so I just happened to get the Keystone magazine that ASU Mountain Home puts out. I got it in the mail, and it was December. We got it like the day after Christmas. And I just looking through there, and I saw, hey, they have an ag degree. I was like, hey, that's really cool. So I told my husband, I said, I'm really thinking I should do this. And he looked at me and said, you hate college. I said, you're correct, but I just really feel led to do this. So went back to college, and to that January 6th of 2019 was my first day at college. And I fell in love with the college atmosphere, the learning. I was like a sponge. I wanted to soak it all up. So I graduated in 21 with my associate's degree from here at ASU Mountain Home. And when I graduated, one of my advisors was also one of my high school science teachers, Jill Roach. I don't know if any of y'all know her, but she still works over here at ASU Mountain Home, and she told me, she said, we'd like to grow this ag program, but we need some ag instructors. I said, that's what I want to do. I want to be an ag instructor. So then I choose to go to attend Murray State, which is in Kentucky, via online. And let me tell you, that was very hard, especially because a lot of my soil classes specifically, I had to have my husband video me doing all of these samples and doing all the work and everything. Then I had to submit the videos, and let me tell you, that was a lot harder than what I thought, but it was very, very good though. So, but I got my bachelor's in 2022. What year am I? Yeah, 22. And then I got my master's in 23. So I went to school and got 3 degrees in 4 calendar years. years. I had no life outside of, you know, because I worked full-time, farmed full-time, went to school full-time, and I also have 2 teenage children. My son was a bareback rider, so we were at rodeos every weekend, and my daughter played softball, so we had softball during the week. And I told my husband, I said, I am the definition of insanity. So
You've not slept at all.
I did not sleep much, no. But weirdly, oddly, I now have adult onset ADHD because my brain is still on that not sleeping mode, and I've got to do so many things mode. So I'm very close to calling the doctor and saying, okay, I give me some sort of medication.
Slow me down.
Yes. So yeah, my goal was to be a professor at ASU Mountain Home. I contacted Beth Whitfield. She is the dean over the health sciences and science, and she was over the ag department, and told her, I said, okay, I've gotten my bachelor's, I'm ready. And she said, we're getting rid of that program.
Oh no.
And I was devastated. I was like, no, this is my dream, this is my goal. And she said, I'm so sorry, we hope to reinstitute it, but in like 5-10 years maybe you can apply then. And I said, well, thanks, but no thanks, I kind of want something now. And I'm not even kidding, y'all. 2 days later, the extension job opened up. 2 days later, and all of my friends, everybody, you need to apply for that, you need to apply for that. I said, no, that's not my dream, that's not my dream. But finally, a week later, I gave in. I said, you know what? If God wants me to have this job, it'll happen. That was in January. In March, they finally called me and said, hey, do you want to interview? I said, yes. And then they hired me after a week after my interview, and everything's been gravy since. I truly enjoy my job. I love my job. It really doesn't feel like a job. So I actually had to cut down my PowerPoint because I geek out because I love my job so much. I had to cut it down probably 10 slides because I can go on forever. But I was asked to come present to y'all about the past, present, and future of 4-H. I had the pleasure of talking to Mr. David, the Reeveses, and Sonny to get some history, because we, at the Extension Office, we actually do not have any history of 4-H whatsoever in our office. I don't know if that was from cleaning out or they just didn't keep the history, I don't know. But I could sit and talk to y'all for hours. I think I talked to Sonny for at least an hour, maybe longer, I don't know, but I was enjoying my conversations so much, and seriously, y'all are gold mines whenever it comes to the history. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. We do have lots of old scrapbooks, pictures, photos, some newspaper clippings. I did find this just earlier today. I found these underneath several of our scrapbooks. But yeah, if y'all have any questions, I will gladly take questions afterwards. If I get to talking too fast, wave your hand, tell me slow down, because like I said, I can get rolling. So, and I do want to honor Branson is one of my 4-H kids. I have been presenting to Branson. Can you wave your hand? Branson is one of my kids. I'm actually teaching in the Mountain Home High School in his class. And Branson has been in 4-H for several years, right?
I think this is 4th or 5th year.
4th or 5th year, yeah. And so, if y'all want to know anything about elevators, he's your guy. He loves elevators. We have fun, don't we, Branson?
Yep.
Okay, so first off, does everybody know what 4-H is? I was gonna say, I have actually found out that a lot of people, especially now, they don't know what 4-H is.
Head, heart, hands, and health.
Yes. Head, heart, hands, and health. Yes. So 4-H is the youth development component of the University of Arkansas Division of Agriculture. It's the Cooperative Extension Service. It's the largest youth organization in the world. There's actually 4-H in other countries, and I was looking into, they have an exchange program, kind of like the German-American exchange program that Mountain Home High School does. 4-H has an exchange program where we will send a 4-Her to fill in the blank of the country, and then they send their kids to us. I have looked into that. It is rather expensive, and I don't have the funding to help kids do that yet, but it is on the books of Amanda's big dreams list. So, but this is also, 4-H is the only youth organization that is directly linked to a university. And of course, our primary purpose is education and youth development. So anybody, doesn't matter race, abilities, gender, anybody age 5 to 19 can join 4-H. The reason that they put age 19 is because some kids, they allow you to go through December of the year that you turn 19, because they didn't want kids to age out in the middle of the year, basically. So that's why they did that. We have Clover Buds, that's your 5 to 8 year olds. That is relatively new. I think they started the Clover Buds in about the 85, 90 years. That is something that is only, what's the word I'm looking for? Facilitated at the county level. So whenever we have our county ORAMA, I do have a Clover Bud age group that they get to participate. They don't get to go on at the state, but they do get to still participate. And basically it's kind of like a practice for whenever they get that junior level, which is your 9 to 13, and then seniors are 14 to 19. Seniors get to go to state ORAMA, which is housed at, or facilitated at the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville. And so that is the best time a kid will ever have. I've gone 2 years in a row now, and it is so much fun. They compete at whatever state event that they did at the county and the state and the district, district level. They do that at the state, but then there's also state competitions that aren't anywhere else, like tractor driving, welding. There's some consumer decision making where there's team events, and so it's not just agriculture. There's a lot of leadership, there's a lot of home economics and consumer, there's just so much stuff. I couldn't even tell you all of it, honestly. We would be here all night. As Ms. Reeves said, the 4-H's head, heart, hands, and health. We have a pledge. Fun fact, our 4-H symbol and the 4-H itself is federally protected. So if there is not a dash, if y'all get on Facebook and you see a post that I have made without the dash, call me and let me know, because I could get turned in for that and pay a fine. So it is federally protected. And if the clover is covered up, that's a big no-no. If the clover is changed from a certain color, that's a big no-no. That is all regulated through NIFA and the USDA. NIFA is the National Institute for Food and Agriculture. So it's a big deal. I actually just went through a training on that because several of us newer agents across the state we didn't know. And I always put the dash between the 4 and the H because I'm kind of anal retentive, and I was like, well, this is the way it is on the record books and stuff. Why would I not do that? But apparently some people don't. The home base of 4-H is the clubs. At the clubs, they need at least 6 members to have a club, and then they need a leader. A leader can be any adult that is willing to say, hey, we're going to have a meeting, I'm going to facilitate this meeting. They do have to have background checks, and it's good if they have some sort of niche or a hobby that they would like to show the kids. That's what really draws a lot of the kids in. They can meet in any location. which is great, because I know a lot of clubs, whether it's school-based or whatever, if they're not meeting at the school, then they don't have anywhere to meet. 4-H, you can meet anywhere appropriate. We're not taking kids to bars or casinos, so at least better not be. But every 4-H club is authorized through the county and through the state. So, extension history. The Smith-Lieber Act was not actually instituted until 1914. However, extension had already kind of started before that. Started with a man named Seaman Knapp. And he actually kind of started more in like 1890, but he wasn't real popular. He wasn't well received. He had all of these great ideas to help farmers, how to improve their crops, how to do soil testing, all the things. Farmers would not listen to him. They said, no, we've done this for 50 years, Daddy did this for 50 years, Grandpa did this for 50 years, we're not rocking the boat. Seaman Knapp was the one that was like, okay, how do I get to the farmers? Through their kids. And so that was how 4-H started. He got to the farmers. He said, if I can get to the kids, and the kids can do their own project, Daddy will see how much more production can be made, and that'll get the parents on board. And so he is dubbed as the father of extension and 4-H. So Arkansas 4-H history, the first 4-H club in Arkansas was in 1908 in Searcy, in White County, yes, which is the town of Searcy, White County, and they had a club that was a pig and corn club. And this is actually their club picture from 1908. So it's one of the oldest pictures of 4-H in Arkansas that we have. And I actually got this photo off of the Arkansas, it wasn't the Arkansas 4-H website, it was one of their sister sites that has all the history. But I thought that was really cool. So Baxter County didn't actually get 4-H according to our state office and according to Ms. Reeves. She did back this up until 1951. So there's, close to 40 years that 4-H was started in White County, but it didn't actually reach Baxter County until 1951. And Ms. Reeves said that the club she was in was the Walker 4-H club.
We met at the old Walker Schoolhouse. It was no longer having school there, but it was open to the community. And
Gotcha.
then in the wintertime, we met from house to house in members' homes.
That's actually kind of nice. That way you get to spread the wealth of the responsibility for snacks. Kids want their snacks. So I have a lot of Capri Suns and cookies at my office. But what I thought was really neat was she learned about cooking and sewing, but her daddy was a carpenter. And so he actually bought a jigsaw to let the boys take home and they could do their woodworking projects, which I thought was very, very neat. And then she was one of the first 4-Hers to ever go to a 4-H camp in 1951 and 52. And 4-H camps are still a very big thing even today. And then I was speaking with Mr. David right before coming here, and I promised y'all I don't like to wait till the last minute to call people, but I had lost Sonny. I'm sorry. I told you I had their numbers, and I did, but I lost them. My Post-it was underneath my keyboard on my desk, and I had to move my keyboard today for a Zoom, and there it was. And so I was hurriedly making phone calls. But per Mr. David, he was a member of the Pioneer 4-H club, which transpired because the Walker club basically dissolved, and so they just kind of transferred into the Pioneer club.
My husband was in both too.
There you go. So, but then he left the Pioneer club and went into the Lucky Clover club. And the Lucky Clover club was still they were still active until about I wanna say 90, 95. There's some pictures, there's I think it's this one. This is a scrapbook, and I wanna say, yes, this is 1990, 91, and it's the Lucky Clovers. Mr. Jim Turnbow and Miss Sandy Prevey, they actually had, Jim Turnbow was the leader of the Live Wire 4-H club, and Sandy Prevey was the leader for the Lucky Clovers club. And so what they would do is they would have a scrapbook contest every year. Their clubs would compete against each other. And at that time, we were down to just a few 4-H clubs, not a whole lot. I think there was like 3 or 4 at that time. But I thought it was really cool that Mr. David, he tried out for the state song leader at the 4-H camp at Pettagene, and he did not win. However, that consolation prize, y'all, he got a nice rod and reel. I almost think I'd rather have the rod and reel myself, but
What the winner got.
yeah. So the winner got the
Office.
title. Yep.
The Office.
Yeah, she got the Office. And honestly, we do not do the song leader anymore. I don't know if that was phased out or they just said, we're not gonna do it anymore. Nobody can really give me an answer on
It's
that.
probably as a result of my campaign.
Is that what you wore, the little Jimmy Dickens?
We aren't
So
going there.
I've got just a few, I interviewed a few community members, that you may or may not know. This is Bodie's lovely cousin.
Distant cousin, way far down.
Not as far as he exaggerates. But Buddy is a very good guy. He's a friend of mine. He's on the fair board, and I get to work with him during fair time, and we're both on the Junior Livestock Association together. This photo is courtesy of Baxter Health. Buddy is the head honcho for the EMT and EMS. He was originally in the Bombers 4-H club, and they dissolved, and so he went into Mr. Jim Turnbow's Live Wires club. And he had nothing to say other than good things about Mr. Jim Turnbow. And if y'all do not know that man,
We do.
he is fantabulous. He's one of my favoriteest humans on the planet. He's only about this tall, but he's the biggest man that I know. He is phenomenal. I love him. Buddy did beef cattle, and I don't know if y'all are on the Facebook group Mountain Home and the whole damn DAM area. Martin Kellum just happened to post this the day that I interviewed Buddy. And so I was like, well, that's divine intervention. So you can't really see Buddy, but he is this guy right there. He's kind of pale, so he was whited out there. But yeah, that's Buddy with his pulled Hereford. And so beef cattle were his thing. And whenever I asked him, I said, what's the one life skill that 4-H instilled in you that you still have today that you think is probably your most valuable asset? And he said leadership. And if you're gonna head honcho Baxter Health's EMT, EMS, you definitely have to have some leadership skills. So Buddy's a very good friend of mine. And actually, Bodie tried to get me to date Buddy in high school. Yes. He kept trying to pawn his cousin off on us. And I said, no. Another community member is Dr. Joe Long. He is the chiropractor here in town. He actually was in 4-H when he was in, what did he tell me? I accidentally left my notes on my desk. He joined 4-H when he was 7, but they moved to Baxter County when he was from Ohio, that's what it was. He was from Ohio, and he joined 4-H when he was 7. He moved to Baxter County when he was 13, and he joined the Easy Riders Horse Club. The Easy Riders Horse Club is still going on today, and still competing, doing all the horse club things. This is Dr. Long right here, this far one. His project was, he was on the horse judging team, and he loved it. And so whenever I asked him what was his life skill that he gained from 4-H, because he actually aged out of 4-H. Now that's not very common because once kids reach high school, they typically join FFA and then they just kind of leave 4-H behind. However, the kids that do both, they benefit so much more because there's more scholarship opportunities, more trip opportunities. There's just so much more that they have available to them if they're in both. But Dr. Long attributes communication as his life skill that he gained from 4-H because he was always part of the Easy Riders Club. One of their rules is you have to give a demonstration, whether it's how you ride, how you clean your saddle, I don't know, fill in the blank. So they had to do a demonstration. But then they would also go to these other contests and do those demonstrations there. And he told me, he said, I'm a doctor, obviously I have to, you know, be able to communicate with my patients. And I actually asked Buddy, I said, do you ever get to, do you still keep in touch with your old 4-H club members? And he said, I don't keep in touch with them. He said, but if I see them, we pick up right where we left off. And then I asked the same thing for Dr. Long, and he said, believe it or not, for him, he said, I've gone through, you know, high school, college, and he said, I don't keep up with any of those people, but I still keep in contact with his horse judging team. And here we are 40 years down the road. So he still keeps in contact with these people right here. So presently we have 9 active clubs and we have 130 members. I have a friend who's the 4-H agent over in Benton County. She has 500 members. I would love to get to 500 members. That's on Amanda's big dream wish list. I don't know that we have 500 kids in Baxter County. Yes, we have 500 kids, but we have 130 members and we have 28 adult volunteers. If any of y'all would love to volunteer, I will gladly accept you, especially if you have some sort of hobby that kids may be interested in. Even if it's just, hey, let's host a workshop. I've got a lady that's gonna help me do some workshops here at the library this summer. We're gonna make cards, we're gonna paint, and I think the other thing is we're gonna do some scrapbooking. So just trying to give the kids more opportunities to do stuff and enter their projects into the fair. The TNC Clovers, they are a general interest club that meets here in Mountain Home. In this photo, you probably can't see, but the taller people in the back, they are a bluegrass band from Mountain View. The oldest one is the girl, right here in the yellow, and she is 20. And so they perform on the square in Mountain View all the time. And that was the glory, that's the glory of 4-H. It's not just animals, it's music, it's leadership. And there was one kid that came up to me not that long ago, and she was like, there is a bully in our school. And I said, well, that's not good. I said, I'm glad you are aware of that. And she said, what can 4-H do for that? I said, well, there's actually bullying prevention is a project in 4-H. And so she said, so what do you mean? I said, if you want to make posters and hang them up in your school, that could be part of your project. Well, I might just have to do that. And I said, okay, get it, girl, let's go. So there's lots and lots of stuff. This particular club is headed by Jackie Ullman and Hannah Walker. Some of y'all know who Hannah Walker is. She was in 4-H when she was a little girl. And her daddy is Lynn Cotter, who was an ag teacher for several schools. And he's currently a teacher at Mountain Home. The Easy Riders Horse Club, like I said, it's been going on for years. This is our hippology team. Hippology, I don't know if y'all know what that is. That is the study of horse everything, from breeds to colors to tack, Western and pleasure, and there's so many things. I have sat in their study sessions before they study 3 days a week, every week for about 6 weeks before they go to the hippology contest in July at the state contest. And Baxter County has come away as the main winner for the last 3 years in a row. These girls, they study and they know their business. You have to know diseases. You have to know how to feed a horse. If a horse founders on such and such feed, what do you need to do? I mean, there's so much. They have their own horse quiz bowl to go along with it. It's really impressive to see them compete at this level.
Surprising, there's no boys there.
I don't know why. There's just not. Right here, Kelsey Roach. She aged out of 4-H, but she is actually going to attend ASU Jonesboro this fall, and she is going to be on their horse team. So she's able to take her 4-H stuff that she learned, and she's able to apply it in college now. So she's kind of my little, I'm gonna brag on her, because she stayed in 4-H. She was a state record book winner. She got to go on several trips just by doing her record book. But these other girls, they're all fairly young, and so I really look forward to watching them grow, and just 4-H's motto is making the best better, and they're living examples of that. Norfolk Rebels, that is another general interest club. They are based out of Norfolk. Roberta and Elliot Goldman are the leaders, and they have been the leaders of that club for close to 30 years. They've been there for a very long time, still going strong. This particular night, there weren't very many kids there, but they had invited one of the game and fish biologists to come talk about deer biology, because they do a program called DMAP, and it's managing your deer on your food plots and stuff. So they brought somebody in, and it was actually a very good presentation. Roberta and Elliot are also the leaders of the Baxter County 4-H shooting sports. And we actually have a lot of kids in our shooting sports. We have 7 disciplines that they can choose from, and they can choose one or all. We have shotgun, 22 rifle, 22 pistol, air rifle, air pistol, muzzleloader, and archery. Yes, that's all 7. And so we actually have several girls doing archery, and it was really funny. We just had the state BB gun contest, and what's really cool about it is we get to do it here in Baxter County, and then we ship the targets off to the state 4-H center, and they do all the grading. And the winner of the county was a girl, and so my nephew was on in the shooting club, and he comes up and he says, "Aunt Amanda, I'm gonna win this." And I said, "Okay, whatever you think." And so I told him, I said, "You didn't win." "Who won?" I said, "Your friend Josie." "What?" I said, "Yeah, she's a sharpshooter." And he said, "She is pretty good." I said, "Yep." So this is actually a picture of the state BB gun contest. They have to stand, kneel, sitting. They call it crisscross applesauce. We used to call it Indian style. They have to shoot from that position, and then they also have to shoot where they're kind of on their knee, but they're not really kneeling at the same. It's a weird position. I don't remember what they call it. It's real. The kids are very uncomfortable whenever they have to shoot that way, but yeah. So they get a target for every position, and all of those targets get sent in. Then we have a newer club. It's the Baxter County 4-H STEM Club. So they actually meet here at the library in partnership with the library. The library had some robots, and we had some kids that wanted a club, so we collaborated with the library, and so we now have a club that meets here. Mr. Kerry Knatzer is the leader for that, and this is him actually showing the kids how to, it's amazing to watch them. They have a computer, they're learning how to write computer programs, how to code, and again, ages 5 through 19, and the majority of these kids are 8 to 10, and they know so much. I'd like to consider myself pretty technology inclined, at least a little. These kids put me to shame. I mean, it's really cool to watch them, you know, think outside the box and do these things. Then we have a newer club called the Critter Club. We just started this club. We've only had one meeting. The leaders are Charles Grinder. He actually is the superintendent of the Critter Barn at the fair. And so he asked me, he said, why don't we have a Critter Club? And I said, because we don't have a leader. And he said, well, you do now. I said, okay. I like when people volunteer and tell me that they want to do something. Let's do it. So he and another lady named Adelina Miller are the leaders for that. And one of the things that they wanted to include in the Critter Barn this next year to try and get more kids to be able to show animals is they have included guinea pigs. Believe it or not, guinea pigs are a major market in the livestock world. You barbecue them and eat them. I'm not making that up either. And then they take the hides and they sell the hides to people that make fur coats.
I just saw a picture of them on Facebook. I thought, those look like roasted guinea pigs. I
Yes.
guess they were.
They probably were. They probably were, yes. So yeah, we're hoping to hit some kids that can raise guinea pigs because, you know, living in Mountain Home, you're not supposed to own livestock within the city limits unless it's a certain amount or a certain size, that kind of thing.
One per acre.
Yes, and so kids are a little more accessible with guinea pigs, and so we're hoping that that takes off. The next one is a brand new club. We've just had our first meeting. We're actually going to have our second meeting this Friday, but it's a cooking club. I have a lady, this lady right here, her name is Cameron Cooper. She actually moved here with her family a couple years ago. She put her daughter right in 4-H, and she said, we're new here. I need my daughter to meet some kids. And after the first year, she said, I actually am a baker and caterer. How can I help? And I said, you know, I'm thinking bake sales, stuff like that. And she's like, what about a cooking club? And I was just looked at her, I said, yes. And she said, well, what do I do? I said, I don't know, I don't care. Yes. And so she started this up, and the kids are really liking it. I am a foodie, so it's quickly becoming my favorite club because they like to make snacks and they do stuff at the club there. So
How do they get funding for the food stuff?
actually, Cameron has brought stuff. She's paying out of her own pocket for currently.
They had a budget or something.
They're currently taking donations. There is it's called the 4-H Food Challenge. It's a contest. Have y'all ever seen the Food Network show Chopped? What it is a team gets a secret ingredient. So for the 4-H one, your secret ingredient may be a can of corn or a can of chicken, and you have to make a dish with that secret ingredient, and then you are judged on how well you know your nutrition. You have to show your nutrition facts, if it tastes good, if it looks good, and the judges judge on all of that. And another component of it at the state level is you have to make it cheap. And so you have to know the dollar value of everything that you use to make this. And so that is something that Cameron and I would love to be able to do, is take a team to the food challenge. It's very, very cool to watch these kids come up with some very interesting recipes. And the one thing I love about this particular challenge is here in Arkansas, the head honchos at the state office, they realized that a lot of Arkansas is actually a food desert. And so what they do is they only allow food that you can find at a Dollar General, because Dollar General is within 6 miles of everywhere. So that's what they do, and they understand that a lot,
It's within 6 feet of everywhere.
Yeah, yes. Some it's like, okay, this is excessive, but yeah, so they want kids to know how to prepare food that they have access to. And so I think that's really, really cool. because the kids are like, hey, I can make this and I can get it at Dollar General, so a lot of times it's cheaper there. We have a 4-H livestock club. It's been in the works for a little over a year. It's one of our more popular clubs just because we do have some livestock kids in Baxter County. This is for the kids who are more interested in pigs, goats, sheep, cattle. Now, any of our animal clubs, you do not have to own an animal to join these clubs. You can join them to learn. I've got about 5 kids that are in the horse club that do not own horses. They just want to go and learn, and they're working up towards getting a horse. So I said, that's excellent. Let's learn about it so you don't, damage anything and while you're learning. So learn first. Then my pride and joy, my personal pride and joy is the Teen Leaders Club. And remember how I told you that we meet anywhere? This is us in McDonald's. We took over that little front room one night and had our Teen Leaders Club meeting. The team leaders, I depend on them to help me plan, prepare, facilitate our 4-H banquet that we host every year at the fairgrounds. They do it all. I am the pocketbook. They plan what theme, colors, if there's a color, if we're gonna have speakers, who's gonna be the speaker. We give out a Friend of 4-H award and a Leader of the Year award. They decide all of that. They decide what food we're eating. So I mean, they literally, it's their baby. And that way they feel ownership and it gets them involved and it heightens their leadership skills vastly. One of the, I'm gonna brag. This girl right here, her name is Erin Coddington. She just happens to be my best friend's daughter, so she's like my daughter. But what's really, really cool is, I told y'all that even now we still have camps, 4-H camps going on. One of the camps is a 4-H trip to Washington, D.C. called Citizen Washington Focus. Erin is going on that trip this year. So, and I'm super excited. I am a chaperone agent, so I get to go. So I'm super, super excited. But what's great about Baxter County 4-H is we have a 4-H foundation that helps our kids if they want to go to any camp, whether it's horse camp, state camp down at the 4-H center. Our 4-H foundation will pay half of the registration fee. Once a year, doesn't matter, take your pick. And so Erin's trip to Washington, D.C. was gonna be $2,200. She only had to pay $1,100. So $1,100, that's airfare, hotel, food, everything for 7 days, $1,100. So we are very blessed with our 4-H foundation. You'll see we're constantly doing fundraisers though, because if we have very many kids do that, our foundation is going to be depleted pretty quick. So if you see us doing a fundraiser, throw us a couple bucks so we can keep sending kids on trips that they may never be able to experience. So my future plans, obviously continue recruiting 4-H members across the board, whether it be kids, volunteers, even people who just want to help me host a workshop. I would love for that. I did have a parent approach me about starting a fine arts club the other day. She come up and she said, look, I've got a daughter that is allergic to air. And I said, well, okay, that must be pretty terrible. And she said, well, she loves 4-H, but she can't have animals. She can't be outside a lot. She's allergic to all these trees and grass and everything. And she said, what could we do? I said, well, there's lots of different things. And she said, well, I was thinking about a fine arts club. I said, yes. And she said, well, what would we do? And I said, anything fine arts. So they're gonna do like the visual arts, music, poetry, photography, anything like that we can do here. Singing, I actually have several 4-Hers that like to sing, and so they're very excited about this club. I would like to build upon what we already have going. I have what's called a WEP team, WEP, W-H-E-P, that's an acronym for Wildlife Habitat Educational Program. I have a team, a junior team of 4 members, and when they compete, last year we went to Garvin Gardens in Hot Springs, and they competed, and they did actually pretty well for never having done this contest before. But I would love to build upon that, because every year they go to someplace different to compete. This year it's in, I'm gonna say it wrong, it's not Poen, it's Priam, I don't know, it's somewhere. Perrin, I think that's it. That's where the contest is this year. So I would love to get more kids involved in what we already have. And then I'm all about the quality over quantity. I told you about my friend in Benton County that has 500 plus members. Our 130 club members, they are very active. I would take my 130 over her 550 that are in 4-H in name only. But our 130 kids, I know them, I see them, I go to the club meetings, and and one of the things that I like to do is I like to show up for these kids outside of 4-H, just to be their champion in whatever it is that they need, because a lot of times that's what these kids need, is just somebody to show up, because a lot of these kids don't have great home lives. Their parents are, you know, they're there, but they're having to take care of themselves. And so they just need somebody who just wants to love on them for a little bit. So that's where I come in. I like to be a cheerleader. And then this is a picture of the biggest man I know. I cropped out the son-in-laws because they weren't in 4-H. But so right here we have Mr. Jim Turnbow. He is actually the president of my 4-H foundation. And so I get to work very closely with him. Great, great man. And then these are his 2 daughters who were in 4-H. And they actually aged out. His daughter Jamie is the mother of these 2 yahoos, Connor and Eli, and Connor and Eli are current 4-Hers. So I love this picture because it shows the legacy. And if Connor and Eli have their way, their kids will be in 4-H. But I want to say Mr. Jim's mother led, I don't know if y'all would know, but she led a club, I don't know what ones, but it was back in the 70s, he said. I'm sorry?
Said that would be very likely.
Yes, I want to say she did, and I just can't remember. But I do have Mr. Jim's sister's old record book up here. Her name was Pam, and so I thought that was really neat, and he brought that to me, and she's got clippings from 1962 in here. So I thought that was really neat. I actually like the binder better than what we have now. What we have now looks like this, and it's just harder to manage. But that's really all I have. If y'all have questions, I'll take them. If I don't know, I'll fake it till I make it. No, I'm kidding. Yes, Mr. Sonny.
How do you recruit kids?
I actually go to a lot of the open houses, and I set up a table and a booth, and I just sit there and I draw kids in with a sucker, and their parents follow. So, and then I hand out brochures. I have a Facebook page that y'all can follow. I'm constantly trying to give the children of the county an opportunity to do stuff. You'll see on social media, a lot of parents are, there's nothing for kids to do in Baxter County. And I say, now, I am giving lots of opportunities, but you've got to meet me halfway. You've got to bring the kids to me. So, but then again, a lot of times, like on contests and stuff, I will actually transport kids to wherever it is that we need to go, because parents can't. So, I actually am taking 10 kids down to Little Rock next week. Next Tuesday is 4-H day at the Capitol, and it's a big deal. There's 500 kids going to be there from across the state, and we get to meet all the legislators, we get to watch them in action. It's gonna be really cool. We get to take some tours and everything, and so I had to rent a van to take these kids down. And a lot of the parents were like, "Are you sure you want to do that? A van full of teenagers?" And I said, "I'll just crank the radio, it'll be fine." So, but yeah, I do a lot of that, recruiting at the school open houses. I have set up a booth at the Kiwanis Safety event that they have at the youth center. I think I had like 20 people come by the last year's Kiwanis Safety event. It wasn't real big. They expected more, but I think there was another thing going on that day and we just didn't have the turnout. But the kids that were there, they had a blast. So if y'all can give me some ideas of where I can recruit, I'll do it. So anything else?
Do each of the 50 states have a 4-H extension system?
Yes, ma'am. Every state has extension and every county has an extension office. One of our state head honchos come to us from Montana. And so he said a lot of times those counties in Montana are, 4 hours wide. And so he said in like states like Montana, they may not have as many just because their counties are larger, but yes, every state and every county is supposed to have extension. Now, whether they have an actual 4-H agent or not, that is highly dependent upon the circumstance of each county. Baxter County is blessed to have me. I am 100% 4-H. I am a rarity in Arkansas. The majority of your agents will be FCS, which is Family and Consumer Science, or Ag, and they will have a designation of 4-H. And so they have to do all of their Ag stuff or FCS and then throw 4-H in there. And after COVID did no favors for anybody. We don't even have to rehash that history. But what it taught a lot of our kids was it's okay to be lazy. And we are slowly bringing the kids and the parents out of that. So we've actually seen an uptick in our enrollment in the last, I would say, 6 months. So I'm very pleased with that. Yes, ma'am.
Did you say where the first 4-H club was originally, in what state? I didn't hear that.
The first 4-H club in 1902 was in Ohio, and it was a corn club. But in Arkansas, it was 1908, and it was a pig and corn club, and that was in White County, in the town of Searcy. So, anybody else?
You don't have a 4-H history club, do you?
I don't, but if you're willing, I mean, hey. Even if you don't want a club and you just want to host a...
Sunny Sharp.
Oh, I see where that was going.
Meet on a Saturday at the museum. Saturday of the month.
But seriously though, if any of y'all were interested in doing like a genealogy project or anything like that with some 4-Hers for a workshop, we can do it. Like I said, I've got the foundation that can help fund for some, if we need any kind of materials or anything like that. Fun fact, if we did it here at the library will help fund for any materials that we might need as well. So, Sonny, did you have a question?
Now, Norfolk would appear to be a good home base for you. Do you also have influence in perhaps Cotter with 4-H, other parts of the county?
Yes and no. I have not been allowed into Cotter schools yet. I currently do programs in Norfolk and Mountain Home, but Cotter just hasn't, they just don't need me, I guess. However, Cotter's ag teacher, her name's Adrienne Watts, she is a former 4-Her, and she actually was in Mr. Jim Turnbow's club and aged out, which is what we want. So she is very much on board. She's trying to get a forestry team together for FFA, but she also wants them to compete in 4-H. it's only smart to do that because it gives them more exposure, more experience. And that's what I keep trying to tell these ag teachers. I'm like, have the kids in both. We can create a school-based club if you want to. We can, however, I'm willing to do it. I've just not gotten a whole lot of response from Cotter other than Miss Watts. So, and she's actually on my, agents have to have a subcommittee that meets yearly that tells the agents what need to be done in the county for the next year. And so Ms. Watts is actually on my committee, and that was one of her things, is she wanted more 4-H involvement with FFA, and which I'm completely on board with. Like I said, it just gives the kids more opportunity, because FFA, you get to go to the state convention and the national convention. That's pretty much it. With 4-H, we've got stuff at the county level, the district level, the state level. We have national contests. You win something for livestock, you're going to Denver in December. So, for the national level. You win something in FCS at the state level, you're going to San Antonio, or I think it was Dallas, down in Texas for the nationals. There's just so much more opportunity if they're in both. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have students that are in different clubs, like they're interested in the horses, but they're also interested in some other general interests? They can be in different clubs?
Yes, ma'am. If your child wants to be in all 9 clubs, that's between you and your child. 4-H allows kids to even cross county lines and state lines. Believe it or not, I had a lady call me just today before coming here. Her child, they live in Gainesville, but they do all their business and everything here in Mountain Home. And she said, is it okay if we join? I said, absolutely. I said, join as many clubs as you want, whatever is feasible for you. I don't come knocking on your door saying, hey, you didn't come to this last club meeting, where were you? It's just not reality. Life happens. So a lot of times I've got kids that will be in multiple clubs because they can't meet on the same time every month. So they've got to kind of spread their interests around. So yeah, it's wide open. Anybody else?
None.
That's great.
Yay.